When we're going through life's journey, it's not always ladybugs and fireflies. I've put together a little exercise to help kick in your joy factor and boost your creativity no matter what challenges may be in front of you. And I've got to say, this is my number one absolute favorite strategy for turning life around. This podcast is all about helping you with your spiritual growth so you can overcome obstacles and manifest your destiny, to crystallize and materialize any dream, basically, to have success on life's journey. It's all about getting unstuck by unlocking your hidden power. So let's get started. Hi there, and welcome. My name is Remy, like Do Re Mi. I'm a best-selling author and creator of the Get Unstuck Revolution. I help extraordinary women just like you dissolve the obstacles in your path so you can bring success to you. Now let's get started with today's video. Okay, let me jump off the screen here and switch over to my laptop. Today, we're talking about the joy factor. This is something I started using years ago as a benchmark. I've always been able to draw an imaginary circle and tell someone that I'm in a personal or a business relationship with, this is my universe inside this circle. And then I would draw another circle and say, this is your universe. Then I would draw another circle bigger and say, this is the universe. And somewhere these three universes are intersecting right now. Whether or not I'll allow you to stay in my universe depends on my joy factor. Not how much joy are you bringing me, because my own joy is really up to me, but how much joy do I really feel when we're together? Is it a 10 or is it at a 2? What's the factor or what's the percentage? Because life brings us big obstacles and smaller obstacles. Our hearts get beat up, our souls become battered. But if there's a certain percentage of joy in my life and the opportunity to be creative, I know I'll be okay. I know I'll be able to find success. If you'd like to see success in full abundance along life's journey, and if you're wanting to tap into a greater knowingness and align with the higher consciousness of your infinite self instead of the lower ego thinking that pushes success away, then this is for you. It's time to be unabashedly, unapologetically, happily untethered to ego thinking. It's time to align with the higher energies of our soul's path instead. This episode is for you if you wonder, what is the joy factor? How do we create our joy factor? And isn't that just a little bit Pollyanna, or is it really effective in the normal world? And this episode is for you if you wonder, what about karma? How does that relate to joy? Because karma by nature is a bit of a tiger, right? Well, these episodes are about how to find your hidden power when you want to transform challenges into successes. I like to call it the audacity of alchemy. Because when we're feeling stuck, it's never the situation that has us stuck, it's our energy about the situation that's become stuck in anxiety, overwhelm, doubts, worries, frustrations, indecision, and even anger. And often this is because of a spiritual injury that we've experienced, some kind of a hidden trauma. So it isn't the pain of our situation, it's the pain of not being connected in the natural energy of who we really are, of being connected to that magical part of us that's a creative vibrational being who can use positive energies to create what we want and bring it into physical manifestation. We can allow our manifestations to materialize and not get stuck in the negative vibrations that block them. These positive energies that we talk about so much are where we find the magic of alchemy, because our choice of frequency, our choice of those positive thoughts and emotions can change the course of our journey. So, what is the joy factor? Well, quite simply, joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much joy am I experiencing in this moment? Now, for me, I personally like a factor of 8 or higher. Anything less than that, and I can't really say I'm feeling joy. I might be feeling contentment or comfort, but not necessarily joy. You'll want to figure out what your own scale is. We talk about this every week about choosing positive energies and emotions, because this is how we change life. An ability to tap into this pool of energy is our hidden power. So the more we can call in joy, the more joyful experiences will find us. And yet, we have people and circumstances around us every day that may test our level of joy. And make no mistake, it's up to us whether we react and respond. It's up to us whether we're adding joy or not to the situation. It's up to us to watch and monitor our joy factor and just be aware of where our joy is and whether a situation is putting us in a position where we need to soothe our heart, or is it simply requiring a new perspective? Now, some will advise us to say something like, I love you unconditionally, but that doesn't mean I'll let you be in my life. Or, I forgive you, but that doesn't mean I'll let you be in my life. And this but is putting a focus on boundaries. It puts the focus on boundaries. And the thing about boundaries is that when we exclude one thing, we tend to exclude all things, not because we're intentionally excluding them, it's because of the energy about boundaries. It's the energy of boundaries. It's really better to focus on calling in joy than to set up exclusions. See the difference? Now, I may look at this a little bit differently because saying something like, I don't know if I'll let you in my life can be a little invalidating. And I don't like invalidating others. We all want love and acceptance, right? So I will easily extend unconditional love to another person with no buts. And in doing so, I'm centering myself spiritually and inviting positive energies into my life. See the difference? Or maybe we can think of it this way: as I sit in a space of being centered spiritually first, which is inviting positive energy flows into my space, as I do that, I'm extending unconditional love to another person. I'm holding reverence for myself and also holding reverence for them. There's no but, there's no boundary to push away positive energies. They'll either rise up to the occasion or they'll fall away, and something else that's new and better will rise up to meet us. With the joy factor, we're inviting. We're inviting in an equal investment. We're inviting in the reverence that honors us and our situation and other people in our situation. With the joy factor, we're saying, I will love you always and thank you for playing a role in my spiritual growth. I have a new spiritual boundary of disallowing negative energies. That's what we're saying when we're spiritually centered. In other words, when someone negative is challenging us, it is an opportunity for growth. And when we use that perspective, it makes it just a little bit easier to stay centered and not go down a rabbit hole of negative boundaries. We're keeping our own responsibility for our own journey, for our own joy, and we're disallowing lower frequency thought patterns and staying centered in that level of joy and creativity that's so important to us. Okay, now that we have this overall concept in mind, let's break it down a little bit more and look at the how. I was inspired to do this episode because I read something from an author. Her name is Ella Frances Sanders, and her book is called Eating the Sun: Small Musings on a Vast Universe. I haven't read this book yet, but the title, it has me hooked. Eating the Sun: Small Musings on a Vast Universe. Anyway, let me put this up on the screen for you because here is a little excerpt of what she says. Whenever possible, I walk through dew covered grass when half the world is falling back asleep to notice the details that exist only while the sun is slowly getting to its feet. Look closely and gently at things because they are surely looking at you, waiting to see whether you settle your eyes on the ordinary and mundane and call it miraculous. When I first read this, I thought about my joy factor. If I wanted to create a little bit of joy in my life, would I walk through dew covered grass? Well, that's not really my thing, but I would be curious to see what things might be looking back at me, waiting to see whether I'm slowing down to notice nature, whether I'm seeing all that's present around me, whether I'm tuning into a leaf that's dancing along the sidewalk, whether I'm watching a branch that's bending in the wind, or a bird hopping down the path, or even feeling the slightest breeze right here on my cheek. Am I following that first line that will soon become a spider's web? That one single thread that catches the sun. Not because I love spiders, because I don't especially, but I would be more focused on the present moment. And I would love to be open to feeling just that little touch of joy that nature brings. And this is what the joy factor is all about: how to find those little touches of joy. Now, I used to keep a joy list on my smartphone. I've talked about this before. And by the way, the reason I'm bringing this up now is because when we are centered in the energy of joy, the flow of the universe can work in our favor so much more easily. I've had people in my workshops tell me that they've prayed and it doesn't seem to work. And I've had others say that the law of attraction hasn't worked for them for this thing that they desire so much. And the thing is, at any given moment, we don't know if we're in the middle of a lesson that we're supposed to learn or if someone else is in the middle of a lesson they're supposed to learn and we have volunteered to hold that space for them. We don't know at any given moment if we're in some kind of karma. So, what we want and what we pray for and what we expect from the law of attraction may not be in our highest and best interest in this moment. That doesn't mean it's not on its way, but it could mean that our focus is putting so much resistance on it that it can't come near us. But when we make a conscious choice to find joy, and it is a choice, doesn't really matter what chaos is around us because we're simply on a different wavelength. And so, this is the reason I wanted to talk about this joy factor today and about making our joy list. If we can't find the joy in our current situation, we can most definitely find the joy elsewhere. And this is where our joy list can help us. And this is the most important factor in the joy factor, and that is to find joy and harmony and blessings in whatever situation we're in. If we'll look, we can find it. I've got to tell you, looking back over all my life experiences, and there have been a lot of them, just like I know there have been for you too, knowing what I'm teaching you today, if I'd known this so much earlier, would have made my life so much easier. And that is an understatement, just saying. I've been through karmic relationships that I looked back on and said to the universe, seriously? Did I really just have to go through that? Maybe you can relate. And if I had known how to find the joy, how to find the positives, or how to find the blessings, or if I'd known how to redirect my energy toward the most positive outcomes, those karmic situations, they would have fallen away much faster because those people would have bounced right off my energy field. So, the joy list. Here we are on the joy list. So like I said, I used to keep a joy list on my smartphone. Actually, I still do. And I created this list when my marriage was falling apart because I remember kind of whispering to myself that he was stealing all my joy. And I realized the moment that that little thought came into my head that joy was going to be up to me. And so I asked myself, how can I create a little more joy in my life? I could try a new flavor of frozen yogurt or maybe find the best cinnamon roll in town. I could go dance at a summer concert. That one always brings me joy. I could go read a book under a tree at the park or put on a cute summer hat. And so I had an entire list right there on my smartphone. And that particular summer, I went down the list and checked them off one by one. And in my entire life, I swear, I've never had such a wonderful summer, better than any summer I've ever had. And that's when the joy factor became mainstream in my own life. So, how exactly do we set up our joy factor? Well, I have an exercise for you. I'd like you to take out a piece of paper and draw a circle in the middle. Now, you can do this in your imagination if you want to, but if you happen to have a piece of paper and you're at your desk, go ahead and grab that and then just draw a circle right in the middle. And inside of that circle, you'll write the word joy. Now, you can choose any positive emotion, really. It doesn't have to be joy, it could be harmony, resilience, happiness. But we'll use the word joy for this exercise, and then you can customize this just for you later on. So, you've got the circle, you've written the word joy. I'd like you to take a moment to create a vision in your mind. What would bring you the most joy this week or in this coming month? Would it be an activity, either passive or active? Would it be a conversation? Would it be something that involves color? What would bring you the most joy this week or in this coming month? Now, I'm going to make an entry here to go find a litter of puppies or kittens and play with them for a little bit. Now, if there's no way to do this in person, like an adoption fair, maybe I'll go to the bookstore and browse a book or a calendar with puppies or kittens. Maybe I'll watch a couple of videos. And I mentioned this recently that neurologists say that watching a video about puppies or kittens releases the same chemicals in the brain as an unexpected hug. So if you see a video like this in your newsfeed, don't pass it by. Indulge yourself. Take advantage of an unexpected hug. All right, so let's keep going. What else would bring you joy in the coming week or the coming month? So I'm going to do two more entries here. And the first is that I'd like to fully celebrate the next holiday. Maybe I'll get creative and watch videos about how to make some decorations for this next holiday. Or maybe I'll go out and collect pine cones in the park if that season is coming up. And then maybe I'll spray paint them all gold. Maybe this is my year to volunteer someplace, which I haven't done in a while. Maybe I'd like to find some way to fully celebrate the next holiday in a way that brings me complete and utter joy. And then maybe I'd like to get creative and make a drink I've never had before, like a Kahlua Bomb or my own chocolate espresso martini, or maybe a virgin version of what sounds like a really good drink. Something that would bring me joy some evening or to sneak away for an afternoon away from work. And so, what we're going to do is keep going with this round and round, creating the joy list until your page is filled. I usually go for about 24 items or whatever will fill up the page. So, now our joy factor includes two things. One, when we do this, we're inviting people and situations that add to our joy. And two, we're also creating our own joy. And so, you'll keep adding to this over the days and weeks as you think of those little things that bring you joy. Maybe it's a shift in attitude. Maybe it's stretching out of your comfort zone. Maybe it involves travel. The thing is, as we do this, we're not only rewiring our brain to think in terms of joy, but also this bit of brainstorming really helps us. When we ask this question, what will bring me joy this week? Our brain will go out and try to find the answer. So not only are we using brain power, but we're also invoking the law of attraction to bring us more and more joyful opportunities. And so when people ask me, how can I change my life? Or I'm not enjoying this journey that life has brought me, this is one of my very favorite exercises to begin to turn things around. Well, we know that thoughts are things. Our thoughts create our reality. And when we match the frequency of the desired reality, we can't help but get that desired reality. By thinking what will bring us joy, we're creating new life experiences just by using our thoughts to our advantage. As we empower ourselves toward the self expression and who we are at our core and who we're becoming without the negative or defeating emotions of ego telling us that we can't get through it, we're choosing a higher frequency, higher and better thoughts, because our choice of frequency, our choice of more positive emotions, changes the course of our journey. So, reflecting back on everything we covered today, how can you apply what you've learned? How can you call in more joy for your life? And did today's exercises get your juices flowing? There's one more thing I'd like to say about why we're choosing joy. When we find ourselves in a karmic relationship, the one that creates the most struggle and brings us the most chaos, the solution for a karmic relationship nearly every single time is to simply choose to step out of that cycle. We're choosing to step out of the negativity, out of the chaos, and move into looking for the positives and looking for the blessings. We aren't being asked to fix it, and we aren't being asked to work through it. We're being asked to choose. We're being asked to choose a different energy and emotion about it because our choice of frequency, our choice of joy, for instance, heals the situation. Our choice of frequency, our choice of emotion changes the course of that relationship. And the other person or the other people will either step up or they'll fall away, which makes room for more joy to move in. And this is at the base of nearly every single karmic relationship. It's the solution almost without exception, except I've never found an exception to this rule yet. And that is we're making a choice to step out of the karma, to step out of the chaos. This is one more reason to choose joy and why we want to measure every situation by asking this question: is it bringing me joy? And if it isn't, then maybe I need to step in and manage my own energy. It's time to choose the energy of joy. I hope this helps you as you're using the powers of alchemy to transform challenges and obstacles into positive new successes. This podcast is all about helping you have success on your spiritual growth journey. It's all about getting unstuck by unlocking your hidden power. If you still can't get your head around what's got you stuck, you can tell me about it. You can send me a question to questions at unlockyourhiddenpower.com, or you may not know that you can schedule a one on one session with your own personal unstuckologist, that's me, by visiting instantbreakthroughsession.com. This private session is designed to help you tap into your greatest resource, that's you, and together we can make quite a team toward calling in the transformational powers of alchemy. In our time together, we'll uncover your single biggest stuck point, that one that you can't see. And we'll also go over the most genius way to create clarity so you can just move forward while one obstacle after another is obliterated. And we'll create a strategy to get you moving in a really good direction, the one that's aligned with your life purpose. If this sounds like a match made in heaven, you can hop on over to instantbreakthroughsession.com right now and book the time slot that works best for you. Well, thanks for joining me today, and I'm wishing you a life filled with all the alchemy you need to bring success to you. Feel free to share this video with anyone you know who's feeling stuck, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.